Spider-Man Homecoming, just for fanboys, or is it a good movie? Hello and welcome back to Wasn't My Fault. I'm Nathan, and today I'll be reviewing the new Marvel movie, Spider-Man Homecoming. It stars Tom Holland as Spider-Man, Robert Downey Jr. reprising his role as Iron Man, and Michael Keaton is also in it. So, first of all, is it a good movie? Simple answer, yeah, it's a really good movie. It's actually one of the better Marvel movies as well. We saw Spider-Man previously in Captain America Civil War, and to be honest, he kind of stole the show for the small part he was in. I think most people's impression of him was really good, quite close to what we expect Spider-Man to be from the comic books and cartoons and so on, and in many ways better than the previous incarnations. Yeah, we've had two different versions of Spider-Man over the years. Sam Raimi made one with Tobey Maguire, and then we had the newer ones then with Andrew Garfield, which were pretty good. Each of them are good in their own ways, but this one I think is far superior. Firstly, we don't have an origin story. We already know he gets bitten by a spider, his uncle dies, blah blah blah. We we know the story. It's like Batman. We don't need to keep seeing his parents die and him becoming Batman. We don't need to keep seeing Krypton be destroyed and Superman coming to Earth. We know it all. We've seen it all before. If we're doing origin stories, can we just have new ones that we haven't seen before? Like Wonder Woman was quite a good one to see for a change. But no, we don't need it. This day and age, everybody knows the main characters, where they come from, who they are, so it's not needed. And that's something really good. They do touch on it a little bit just to kind of go, oh yeah, I was bitten by a spider. And that's about it. They don't really have to expand on that. Tom Holland, I think, is a really good choice for Spider-Man. He is quite athletic himself. He does a lot of the sort of backflips and a lot of the stuff himself. As you can see, if you've seen any of the YouTube videos of him training and that sort of thing, he is genuinely really good. So he can do a lot of that stuff himself. So he can do it as Peter Parker, not only having a stuntman doing it as Spider-Man. So that is a really good thing. He's a much better age than the previous ones. All the old ones, the other ones have been a lot older. He is still obviously not the age that he plays, but he is more like a 15-year-old than the other one. No offense, Tom. But it is really good. The other thing that stands out with this movie is the main villain. The main villain, as you all know, is played by Michael Keaton. Brilliant, brilliant actor. I'm a big fan of his from way back. I love most of his movies. Now, he's obviously been Batman previously, Beetlejuice, hundreds of different types of movies. He's a good comedy actor. He's a good serious actor. He can do bad guys really, really well. It's something I think he brings to this that we haven't had with most villains in comic book movies. Is they're just a villain and they're evil and that's it. But he's not that. There is a specific reason for why he's doing what he's doing outside of the law. And I think that makes him a much more interesting character than a lot of villains we've had in the past. I think that's always been the biggest problem with superhero movies are the villains. They're one-dimensional. You can't really understand their reasoning, and you don't empathise with the character at all. Which a villain should be, in many ways, a character that you can understand why they're doing it, for whatever reason. Things like the Joker, he's completely insane. You understand his reason for what he does. He likes chaos. He likes to, cause mayhem, and you understand that. But when you get villains that you don't understand, you can't figure out why they're doing what they're doing, and it makes it quite boring. But Michael Keaton, obviously, fantastic actor. He's really good when he's being really evil as well. He's the sort of person, and he brings this forward a lot in this role. If you're his friend, his family, he's completely protective, loving, and a great person. But cross him, and that's the end. You're going to have to really fear for your life, and that's what he brings across. Is you can see he's a loving father and family, and he looks after all his workers and that sort of thing. But as soon as somebody crosses him, you see the kind of madness in his eyes. I think he always brought to a lot of his roles, like Beetlejuice, and a lot of time for why he was such a good Batman was that he played Bruce Wayne as quite a normal person, but every now and then you'd see sort of the madness and what could potentially be there under the skin that he obviously lets out when he's Batman. So that I think is something really good with it. The storyline as well, and it's brilliant. It's not just a superhero movie with action, big explosions, and big fight scenes. There's a lot more emotional stuff as well, all about Peter Parker trying to come to terms with who he is, all the events that happened in Civil War, and not being part of the Avengers yet, and all that sort of thing. There's a lot of struggles of him trying to just fit in, find where he is. He's still quite young, so he's still trying to find his place in the world, and you know, the simple things that everyone deals with: girls, homework, study, and it is a really, really multifaceted story. It draws you in because the characters are so good. His best friend Ned's absolutely fantastic character. It's really good. It brings a little bit of comic relief, which is something that Marvel do quite well. They have a lot of serious stuff, and people, get injured, killed, and whatever else. But you need that little bit of humour. It can't all be doom and gloom constantly. You need to have a little bit of humour to offset that, and characters that you care about. And I think it's something that Marvel are doing really well, and they're keeping characters from, all the different series and then bringing them back. Things like when you watch some of the promos for Thor, when he's got his roommate, it's kind of silly and a bit funny, but it makes more sense because it makes you believe in the characters more because they are real people as well. They're not just this big person on the screen. You see something like Superman, especially with the new versions, and it is just Superman. He's some, big superhero, indestructible. He can fly, X-ray vision, heat vision, and everything else. And it's nothing to it. But Marvel, it's like real people that then get thrust into this world. Peter Parker is an average 15-year-old kid. Well, I say average, but he's obviously highly intelligent, really good at that. He's a nerd, so he doesn't have many friends. Like a lot of us watching these kind of movies, we're all nerds and geeks. We don't fit in with all the athletic people and that sort of thing. We like jazz club and comic books and video games. So we are sometimes like the outcasts, and he's that. And then this strange thing happens to him, gets bitten by a spider, gets all these powers, but he has to be a kid as well. And and it's that Marvel have always worked with, is that he doesn't just get all the superhero side and worry about the supervillains and protecting the people he loves and the people he cares about and all the average people he tries to protect as well. But he's got all the other day-to-day stuff to worry about as well: school, girls, friends, family, getting your homework done, curfews and everything else he has to deal with without telling anybody who he is and what he's doing. And it's a much, much more interesting thing. And this film hits that perfectly, I think. It is all about Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man, finding his place in the world, coming to terms with who he is, his powers, where he fits in, the fact that he does still have friends and family and he's in school. And it is a really, really, really good movie in that way. Even without the superhero stuff, it is quite an interesting story of coming to age. To a certain degree, some of that relates to Tony Stark as well, because obviously his father wasn't much of a father figure in his life. He did a lot of stuff by himself, and his father obviously died when he was still growing up as well and coming to terms with everything. So he didn't have that father figure in his life, and as you can see from all the trailers, he tries to kind of take that role with Peter, but doesn't do too well at it. And I think that's something that'd be interesting to see going forward, how that actually changes. There's some, obviously being a Marvel movie, there's lots of little nods to other parts of the Marvel universe. Something that you may have seen in the trailers is that Spider-Man's new costume talks. It has an artificial intelligence, or AI, and the voice is actually Jennifer Connelly. Now, you may know her from many, many movies, and years ago she was in a great movie called Labyrinth with David Bowie. If you also know who Jennifer Connelly is, she also has a famous husband, Paul Bettany, who actually plays Jarvis and Vision. So it's kind of interesting that you've got the two well-known suit voices played by husband and wife. So it is kind of one of those things that they do quite well. And obviously Stan Lee's in it as well, so you get everything tying in quite nicely. And it is becoming a quite well-rounded universe, and everyone fits in together. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes moving forward. Not only the good guys, so obviously you get all the Avengers coming together for Infinity War soon, but also the bad guys. So Vulture, Michael Keaton's character, is, as I said, he's quite interesting. Obviously, I won't go into any spoilers of what happens at the end, but it'll be interesting to see him because there's nods to other characters. Like if you look carefully, there's a character there that could become Scorpion later. So there's hints there for the Sinister Six to come up. Interestingly enough, his best friend Ned, I believe in the comics, eventually becomes Hobgoblin. So who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. It's something that could happen a long way down the line. There's a lot they could do with Spider-Man. Still a young character, he's still in school, so see how that develops with the people around him, and see how it goes. It'll be very interesting. Like I said, it's a fantastic movie. go out and see it. It's possibly one of my favourite movies in the Marvel Universe so far. It's much better than the previous Spider-Man films. I know he has his web shooters are right. He makes the web fluid himself. He doesn't just steal it. It's the problem with the other ones. The Tobey Maguire one, the webs come out of his arms, which was stupid. And with the Andrew Garfield one, he actually stole the web fluid from Oscorp, which I was never happy with that idea. It seemed a bit stupid that he wasn't developing his own. Spider-Man always made his own web fluid. I know he is obviously a brilliant scientist, but maybe because he's been bitten by a spider and it gives him some instinct of how to make webs since he can't, make it from his own body. So it's much better sticking closer to the comics. I think people need these days. There's so many people reading comics, watching the cartoon series and reading about on the internet and everything, that people expect them to be closer to the original stories. Yeah, there'll be some differences, some updates and so on, but I think sticking more closely to the source material is a much, much better idea rather than trying to go in a different way. And I think it's working really well. So, yeah, it's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and see it, definitely. And I think it sets up things like Infinity War and everything else even better, and it really gets you excited for it. The fact that they do an updated version of the Spider-Man theme at the beginning of the movie when you get the big Marvel logo come up, it almost gives me goosebumps because I'm obviously saw all the original cartoons back in the day, and the music has meaning for me. It's the Spider-Man music, just the same as in the original Iron Man, when called Rhodes had the ringtone with the original Iron Man theme. So it's nice that they're having the nods to the past, but updating the future. So anyway, yeah, fantastic movie. Go out, enjoy it, and see you next time. Bye bye.